I learned an awful lot from Mr. Rockefeller. I met Rockefeller through a female attorney I knew who called me up one day and said, one of the Rockefellers would like to meet you. I had made a video called Mad as Hell, and he'd seen the video and wanted to meet me and knew I was running for governor of Nevada. So sure, I'd love to meet him. And I met him and I liked him, and he was a very, very smart man. And we used to talk and share ideas and thoughts. And he's the one who told me 11 months before 9/11 ever happened that there was going to be an event. Never told him what the event was going to be, but there was going to be an event, and out of that event, we were going to invade Afghanistan to run pipelines from the Caspian Sea. We were going to invade Iraq, to take over the oil fields, establish a base in the Middle East, and make it all part of the New World Order. And we'd go after Chavez in Venezuela. And sure enough, later, 9/11 happened. And I remember he was telling me how you're going to see soldiers looking in caves for people in Afghanistan and Pakistan and all these places. And there's going to be this war on terror, of which there's no real enemy. And the whole thing is a giant hoax, but it's a way for the government to take over the American people.
He told you it was going to be a hoax.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no question. He says, there's going to be war on terror. And he's just laughing. There's no... Who are we fighting? I mean, why do you think 9/11 happened and then nothing's happened since then? Do you think that our security is so great here that these people who pulled off 9/11, who were able to, can't knock down another plane? Come on, it's ridiculous. 9/11 was done by people in our own government and our own banking system to perpetuate the fear of the American people into subordinating themselves to anything the government wants them to do. That's what it's about, and to create this war, this endless war on terror. And that's why and that was the first lie. And the next lie was going into Iraq, to get Saddam Hussein out with his weapons of mass destruction. That was the next lie.
Now, specifically, this was a little over 6 years ago?
This was
11 months before 9/11.
Yeah.
And Nick Rockefeller, who's a lawyer, he's become your friend over the previous years, and he's saying to you that there's going to be this big event, and then out of that we're going to have a war on terror, and it's just going to go on and on.
Right, an endless war on terror without any real enemy. That you can never define a winner.
And did he say that it's going to be perfect because you can't define an enemy? It just goes on?
Yeah, because you can't define a winner. There's no one to beat, so it goes on and on forever. And they can do whatever they want. They scared the hell out of the American public. Look, this whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. It's very difficult to say it out loud because people are intimidated against saying it. Because if you say it, they want to make you into a nutcase. But the truth has to come out. That's why I'm doing this interview. The fact of the matter happens to be that the whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. Yeah, there's a war going on in Iraq because we invaded Iraq. And people are over there fighting, But the war on terror, that's a joke, And until we discover what really happened on 9/11 and who was responsible for 9/11, because that's where the war on terror emanates from. That's where it comes from. It was 9/11 that allowed this war on terror to begin. And until we get to the bottom root of 9/11, the truth of 9/11, we'll never know about the war on terror.
Segment tonight, we continue our look at the far left vis-a-vis 9/11. Listen to actor Charlie Sheen.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. I come to you today representing the families of the victims of September 11th, as well as millions of my fellow Americans. Hopefully by now you've had a chance to read my letter to you, 20 Minutes with the President, and if not, at least had its contents brought to your attention. We have questions, Mr. President. Lots of questions. A lot of them are detailed in my letter, but trust me, there are hundreds of more questions. As my letter chronicles, sir, the 9/11 Commission itself says they were lied to, deceived, and essentially prevented from carrying out a real investigation. People of the United States and the world demand the truth, sir.
We have to continuously ask questions. That's what a patriot does. That's what a true American does.
you, sir, have the power as well as the responsibility to initiate a truly independent congressional investigation into the events of 9/11 as well as its aftermath. We want our country back, Mr. President. Therefore, I'm not just calling on you and your team. I'm calling on each and every American citizen to wake up, stand up, and demand the truth. We're counting on you, Mr. President. Be on the right side of history.
Charlie Sheen penned a letter to President Obama called 20 Minutes with the President, where he essentially asks for 20 minutes with President Obama to ask him questions on behalf of the victims' family members regarding 9/11, unanswered questions. And he has 20 bullet points in this letter to President Obama, and each one of these bullet points is supported in a bibliography that contains relatively uncontroversial news sources.
There is a contest that is directly related to 20 Minutes with the President, and what we are requesting is that any man, woman, or child, regardless of race, sit down and put on video two characters actually reading 20 Minutes with the President. Somebody plays me, somebody plays the President. And what Alex and I are going to do is we're going to take all the video submissions. If you want to read the whole thing, if you want to read a portion of it, if you want to do, however you interpret it, whatever language you interpret it in, we're going to take those video submissions, and Alex and I are going to decide on who the winner is.
I wrote this letter for two reasons. Firstly, I wanted to create a public document specifically rooted in fact. If anybody dares question that, I would encourage those people to scrutinize it, to research it. The truth is unchanging, Alex, as we both know. The only aspect of this piece that had to be manufactured were the president's words. Everything else will withstand the critical assault I'm more than prepared to endure. And secondly, this is our first new president since 9/11, and consequently his first 9/11 anniversary in office. Enough stonewalling, enough media manipulation, enough media mantra speak. The families deserve better, Alex. America deserves better. I mean, come on. Come on, people. The 9/11 Commission report is a blatant work of manipulation, secrecy, and fiction. Come on, the time is now. Demand the truth. I personally cannot stand idly by any longer and pretend like a new investigation is just going to fall out of the heavens right into our Congress. We have to take action. We have to stand as one. We must insist that our new president deliver on his promises. And that's why, Alex, that's why I've gone right to the top with this. That's why I'm asking the president to read my letter, to answer my questions in person, and to call for a real and open investigation, finally.
We just experienced our first 9/11 anniversary with you as Commander-in-Chief.
Yes, a very solemn day for our nation.
Now, am I to understand, sir, that you fully support and endorse the findings of the Commission report, otherwise known as the official story?
Do I have any reason not to?
Are you aware, Mr. President, of the recent stunning revelations that 60% of the 9/11 commissioners have publicly stated that the government agreed not to tell the truth about 9/11, and that the Pentagon was engaged in deliberate deception about the response to the attack?
I am aware of certain infighting during the course of a very thorough and long investigative process.
Mr. President, it's hard to label this type of friction as infighting or make the leap to thorough when the evidence I insist that you examine is statement of fact. If you'll notice, Mr. President, on page 1 of the dossier, dated August of '06, from the Washington Post, the statements of John Farmer, who is the former senior counsel to the 9/11 commissions. His statement, I was shocked how different the truth was from the way it was described, as well as the statements of Commissioner Max Cleland, an ex-senator from Georgia, who resigned stating, it is a national scandal. This investigation is now compromised, but this White House wants to cover it up.
Mistakes were clearly made, but we as a people and a country have to move on.
Sir, how can we focus on the future when the commission itself is on record stating that they still do not know the truth about 9/11, and in fact it has been the pretext for the systematic dismantling of our Constitution and the Bill of Rights? Sir, with all due respect, your administration is reading from the exact same playbook as the Bush administration.
And I'm telling you that we must move forward.
For 26 years, more than half of my life, I have been creating fiction for a living. So believe me when I tell you, I recognize it when it presents itself, and even more so when it is forced into my grill. So on that note, Alex, I'm no longer afraid to say that the official 9/11 story is an absolute fairy tale, a complete work of fiction, and not even a very good one. If the president ignores this, that's on him. If he accepts it, that's on me.
Charlie, your letter to the president closes by you saying to him, make sure you're on the right side of history. What did you mean by that?
What I meant by that, Alex, was that this is his chance to do the right thing. And for much too long now, our government has been on the wrong side of history.
And finally, Mr. President, number 10. On April 29th, 2004, President Bush and Vice President Cheney would only meet with the commission under specific clandestine conditions. They insisted on testifying together and not under oath, and to this date, nothing they spoke of that day exists in the public domain.
Mr. President, that's all the time we have for Hollywood today.
Thank you. Well, Charlie, I can't say this has been interesting.
Mr. President, you're on the right side of history.
I am on the right side. Thank you very much. My aides and I will be in touch.
Geraldo Rivera called him, again, came out and called him crazy. There's somebody on Fox and Friends whose name I can't remember, Gutfeld or something like that, who called him a Nazi.
Sheen claims that 9/11 was the pretext for systematic dismantling of our Constitution. He says this without realizing that since 9/11, not a single person has shut him up. His relentless babble has done more to prove there's no cover-up than anything ever. Damn, I wish the government would silence him or at least give him a better haircut suited for a middle-aged man. It's strange, I tell you. But look, I love Sheen because he's a man unencumbered by self-awareness. Think about it. The man's, he's the world's most clueless, druggy, gambling-addicted whore banger, and he thinks he's uncovered a conspiracy and that we should all believe him. How cute is that? And if you disagree with me, then you're probably a racist.
You know, all kinds of ad hominem responses to a fact-based argument. And that, I think, is very telling. I think it means that somebody does not want to address the subject of 9/11 based upon the facts at hand. They want to respond with character assassination and personal insults. You know, on The View, which is not really the news, Meghan McCain responded to Charlie Sheen's 20 Minutes with the President initiative by saying, are you really going to take your political cues from an actor? Clearly not remembering that Ronald Reagan was president of the United States and Arnold Schwarzenegger is governor of the state of California, so that's not really a very substantive rebuttal to the questions that Charlie has raised either.
So tomorrow is the 8th anniversary of the September 11th terrorist attacks, and the conspiracy theories are as strong as ever. There are internet sites, movies, and celebrities who are convinced that the U.S. government was complicit in the attacks. Is this ever going to change? I mean, conspiracy theories have always been around, but this seems a little much.
It is so I was going to say unbelievable, but the thing is that people believe it. Why? Why that need?
Well, I mean, why that need in any of this? Because we have the Holocaust deniers, the people who say that that never happened. I mean, it's insane when you have all this documentation of all of these incidents to continuously say, no, none of it happened.
And Charlie Sheen recently is the latest celebrity to talk about how he doesn't believe in 9/11. I quoted Charlie Sheen yesterday about his experience with prostitutes. So really, you're the one that I should be listening to about 9/11.
Prostitutes and still do politics, though, can't you? As it's been proven.
He was a good politician. I'm not going to take my political advice from Charlie Sheen.
Specifically talking about media.
Sure.
There was one particular show, The View, and you've got a challenge for somebody.
Yes, I do, Alex. Meghan McCain, John McCain's daughter, I guess, was on The View. I don't watch the shows, but I read the transcript, and she said some pretty